Hello, wonderful viewers, and welcome back. Today, we're delving into a topic that many of us may have encountered in our lives. The futility of conversations with narcissists, why it's pointless. Ever found yourself talking in circles, feeling drained after an interaction? You may have been dealing with a narcissist. These individuals, characterized by self-centeredness and a lack of empathy, can make conversations feel like a battleground. You're constantly navigating through manipulative tactics, shifting blame, and an innate inability to acknowledge fault. It's like trying to have a meaningful exchange with a brick wall. But why is this so? Why do conversations with narcissists often lead to frustration and emotional exhaustion with no room for mutual growth or understanding? Stick around as we unravel the reasons behind these fruitless exchanges. Now let's explore why engaging with a narcissist can often seem like an exercise in futility. Our journey begins with the fundamental characteristic of narcissism, a lack of empathy. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, is the cornerstone of meaningful conversations. It allows us to connect on a deeper level, to feel seen and heard, to experience the richness of human interaction. But imagine a conversation devoid of this crucial element. This is often the reality when engaging with a narcissist. Narcissists, by their very nature, are self-centered. Their focus is primarily on their own needs, feelings, and experiences. This self-centeredness often prevents them from truly understanding or relating to the emotions of others. So what happens when we try to engage in meaningful dialogue with someone who lacks empathy? The conversation becomes one-sided. Our feelings and perspectives are overlooked or dismissed. We may feel unheard, invalidated, and disconnected. The conversation starts to feel hollow, like an echo bouncing back off a wall without any response. This, in essence, is the experience of conversing with a narcissist. The lack of empathy in a narcissist creates a barrier to genuine connection. It prevents the establishment of mutual understanding, the sharing of authentic experiences, and the fostering of a deep emotional bond. Conversations are not just about exchanging words, they are about connecting hearts. But when one heart is closed off, trapped in the fortress of narcissism, true connection becomes a distant dream. This absence of empathy makes true connection and understanding nearly impossible. Narcissists are skilled manipulators, which is our second point. Now let's delve into this. Narcissists are not just participants in conversations, they're puppet masters, pulling the strings of dialogue to serve their own ends. They employ a range of manipulative tactics that can leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, constantly on guard for the next twist or turn. One of the most common tactics used by narcissists is gaslighting. This is a psychological ploy where a person causes others to question their own memory, perception, or sanity, often by denying their experiences or twisting the facts. When you're in a conversation with a narcissist, they might deny things they've said or done, or they may accuse you of misremembering. This can be incredibly disorientating and can leave you questioning your own reality. Another tactic often used by narcissists is emotional control. They may use guilt, shame, or fear to manipulate you into thinking, feeling, or behaving in certain ways. For instance, a narcissist might play the victim to gain sympathy, or they may use anger and intimidation to get their way. This emotional manipulation can make conversations with narcissists draining and stressful. Narcissists are also masters of deflection. When confronted with criticism or accountability, they quickly change the subject, diverting attention away from themselves and onto something or someone else. This tactic can make it almost impossible to address issues or resolve conflicts, as the conversation never stays on track. Lastly, narcissists are experts at playing mind games. They may use tactics such as baiting, where they provoke a reaction to gain power or control, or they might use projection, accusing others of the negative traits or behaviors they themselves exhibit. So why do narcissists use these manipulative tactics? Well, it's all about maintaining control and protecting their fragile ego. They use manipulation to keep others off balance and to deflect any criticism or accountability. Engaging in dialogue with a narcissist can become a minefield of psychological tactics aimed at asserting dominance and control. But remember, knowledge is power, and understanding these tactics can arm you with the tools to navigate these tricky interactions. A shifting blame is our third consideration. In the realm of conversations, it is not uncommon to encounter individuals who would rather point fingers at others than take responsibility for their actions. But when dealing with narcissists, this tendency takes on a whole new level. Narcissists are masters at the art of deflection. When faced with criticism or confronted about their behavior, they effortlessly shift the blame onto others, expertly avoiding any personal accountability. This blame shifting isn't just about dodging responsibility. It's a complex psychological maneuver designed to protect their inflated sense of self. To admit fault would mean puncturing their carefully curated self-image, and that's a risk they're unwilling to take. So what does this look like in a conversation? Imagine you're discussing an issue that involves them. Instead of acknowledging their role, they might twist the narrative, pointing out how your actions contributed to the situation. They're skilled at turning the tables, making you the problem instead of addressing the issue at hand. This tactic can be incredibly disorienting. You start a conversation hoping to resolve an issue, but you end up on the defensive, questioning your own actions and perceptions. It's like trying to navigate a maze where the walls constantly shift. You're left in a state of confusion, doubt, and frustration. The blame game can also serve as a weapon for narcissists. By making you feel guilty or wrong, they maintain control over you and the narrative. It's a power play, a way to keep you off balance and in a state of self-doubt. And here's the real kicker. Because they're so convinced of their own infallibility, they believe their own distortions. Their reality is one where they can do no wrong, and they expect you to live in it with them. This constant shifting of blame can make conversations with narcissists a draining, disheartening experience. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sands. No matter how much effort you put in, you're left with nothing stable or substantial. Conversations with them can quickly turn into a blame game, leaving you frustrated and questioning your own reality. Building on that, our fourth point is the narcissist's inability to acknowledge fault. This trait stems from a deep-seated fear of appearing less than perfect. After all, narcissists thrive on the image of themselves as infallible, superior individuals. They've built a fortress of self-esteem around this illusion of perfection. So any suggestion that they've made a mistake is seen as a direct assault on their self-image. In conversations, this translates to a steadfast refusal to admit they're wrong, even when faced with irrefutable evidence. They may twist the truth, change the subject, or gaslight you into thinking you're the one who's mistaken. They're experts at creating a narrative where they're always the hero or the victim, but never the villain. This inability to acknowledge fault can turn conversations into a frustrating game of mental gymnastics. You might find yourself going in circles, trying to get them to see a different perspective or take responsibility for their actions. But narcissists are adept at dodging accountability like a matador evades a bull. The lack of admission of fault also stifles any potential for growth or resolution in a conversation. After all, how can there be progress if one party refuses to recognize their own mistakes? It's like trying to navigate a maze with no exit. Driven by a fragile ego, they resist admitting any wrongdoing, making resolution or growth through dialogue nearly impossible. Narcissists have a constant need for validation, which is our fifth consideration. This insatiable need for approval and acceptance is like a thirst that can never be quenched. It's a driving force that shapes their actions, behavior, and most notably, their conversations. In every interaction, narcissists are on the hunt for praise and affirmation. Like actors on a stage, they perform, seeking applause and admiration, often at the expense of genuine connection. Their dialogues become monologues, a soliloquy of self-praise and self-indulgence, where the other person's thoughts, feelings, and perspectives are often dismissed or outright ignored. They're not really interested in a two-way conversation. Instead, they're looking for an audience, a mirror that reflects their own grandeur. This constant need for validation turns conversations into a one-sided affair, a performance where the narcissist is both the star and the director. It's a dance where they lead and you follow, where your role is to validate and applaud their performance, not to participate or contribute in any meaningful way. But conversations are not meant to be performances. They're meant to be exchanges, a mutual sharing of thoughts, feelings, and ideas. They're meant to be a bridge that connects two individuals, a platform for understanding and growth. But with narcissists, this bridge is often one way, making it challenging to have a balanced and meaningful exchange. The lack of reciprocity makes it challenging to have a balanced and meaningful exchange. Our sixth point is the tendency of narcissists to project their insecurities onto others. Now let's dive into the murky waters of projection, a common defense mechanism employed by narcissists. Why do they project? Well, narcissists, in their bid to maintain an inflated sense of self, often deny the existence of their flaws, insecurities, or perceived weaknesses. Instead, they project these onto others like a distorted mirror, reflecting their internal chaos onto those around them. This is their twisted way of dealing with the internal discomfort and anxiety they feel about their insecurities. Imagine you're in a conversation with a narcissist, and they suddenly accuse you of being selfish, when in reality, they are the ones who've been dominating the conversation. This is projection in action. They're attributing their own selfish behavior onto you, creating a smokescreen that diverts attention away from their shortcomings. This form of psychological defense can be disorienting and hurtful. It can cause you to question your own behavior, your motives, or even your character. It's like being lost in a maze of mirrored walls where every turn reveals a distorted reflection of reality. And here's the real kicker. Narcissists often project those very aspects of themselves that they find most unacceptable. They might accuse you of being overly sensitive when they themselves cannot handle criticism, or they might label you as controlling when it's their need for dominance that's stifling. This projection of insecurities does not foster healthy, authentic communication. Instead, it muddies the waters of dialogue, creating confusion and frustration. It's like trying to navigate through a storm with a broken compass. You're left feeling disoriented and lost. So how do you deal with this? It's important to remember that the narcissist's projections are not a reflection of you, but a reflection of their own unresolved issues. Maintain your sense of self and don't let their distorted mirrors define who you are. In conclusion, narcissists use projection as a shield against their insecurities, a way to deflect their own shortcomings onto others. This projection can lead to confusion and frustration in any attempt at genuine communication. Conversations with narcissists lack genuine interest, our seventh point. This is a key aspect that often leaves individuals feeling as if they're speaking into the void when interacting with a narcissist. A lack of genuine interest is not simply about the narcissist being disinterested in what you're saying. It's also about how they use conversation as a tool to serve their own agenda. Picture this. You're sharing a personal experience or expressing an emotion, and the narcissist seems engaged and interested. They nod at the right moments, ask pertinent questions, and might even express empathy. Yet, there's a distinct feeling of disconnect, a sense that something is off. That's because for narcissists, conversations are not about connection, understanding, or mutual exchange. Instead, they are platforms for them to assert their self-importance, seek validation, or manipulate the narrative to suit their worldview. This lack of genuine interest can leave you feeling unheard and undervalued. You may find yourself questioning the validity of your thoughts and feelings, as they are often dismissed, ignored, or twisted to fit the narcissist's narrative. This can be incredibly damaging to your self-esteem and sense of self-worth, as you are constantly made to feel as if your voice doesn't matter. Narcissists have a remarkable ability to feign interest. They put on a show of attentiveness, but their hearts and minds are elsewhere. They're not interested in your thoughts, feelings, or experiences unless they can use them to their advantage. This lack of authentic interest is not a reflection of you or your worth. Instead, it's a reflection of their inability to connect on a deeper, more meaningful level. This lack of authenticity is a fundamental trait of narcissism. It's a result of their self-centered nature, their inability to empathize with others, and their constant need for validation and control. It's not about you, it's about them. So remember, when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's crucial to recognize these tactics for what they are. a way to manipulate, control, and assert dominance. Your voice matters, your feelings are valid, and you deserve to be heard. This lack of authenticity can leave you feeling unheard and undervalued. Engaging in conversations with narcissists can lead to emotional exhaustion, which is our 8th consideration. The roller coaster of manipulative tactics, blame shifting, and lack of empathy is a draining ordeal. It's like being in a constant state of alert, always trying to navigate through the labyrinth of their mind games. The mental gymnastics required to keep up with their twists and turns can leave you feeling weary and depleted. For every conversation, you find yourself donning an armor, preparing for a battle of wits and emotions. You're not just communicating, you're defending your perspective, your feelings, and often your sanity. This isn't just tiring, it's emotionally draining. It's like running a marathon with no finish line in sight. And the worst part? They don't see how their behavior affects you. They don't understand the mental and emotional fatigue their actions cause. So, remember the constant need to navigate their manipulative tactics, defend yourself against blame, and grapple with their lack of empathy can take a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. Our 9th point is the absence of room for mutual growth. Conversations are not just about exchanging words. They are a platform for learning, understanding, and evolving. They are about sharing ideas, experiences, and perspectives that allow both parties to grow mutually. However, when one engages in a conversation with a narcissist, this aspect is often missing. Their self-centered nature and constant need for validation eclipse the opportunity for a mutual exchange of ideas. Instead of fostering growth, they tend to dominate the conversation, steering it towards themselves. They are often more interested in being heard than hearing, in being understood than understanding. This one-sided nature of their conversations not only stifles your growth, but also theirs. They remain trapped in their own perspectives, unable to broaden their horizons or gain new insights. In conclusion, genuine conversations usually involve a give and take, a sharing of ideas that facilitate mutual growth. But with narcissists, this is often absent.